This is the second part of our podcast on the Maimer of Rabbi Avrohom, Chokhmas Chokhmas VeYisrael. And the first part was mostly halachic issue of when one should or should not learn Chokhmas HaUmos. But now we come to the more machshava part of the Maimer. This page starts on page Chavtes in the Sefer, and it's on the PDF, the link PDF as well, on htas.org /RAEK. I'm not going to go through the whole address this time. Ulamai Chokhmas HaUmos, my Chokhmas Yisrael. What is the Chokhmah of the nations? What's the Chokhmah of the Jews? It's the old saying is well known. The ultimate knowledge is that we don't know. And more profound is the German statement. Das Erkennen der Unerkennbarkeit. Don't know if I'm reading that right. Probably not. But the cognition that one cannot recognize. Hakar Pnimis, the inner recognition, Shekol HaKosmos Eino Ela Kamus. Interesting playing words there. All the cosmos is hidden. Hakamos Shabo Rav Al Hagaloy Shabo. That which is hidden is much greater than that which is revealed. Hanelam Rav Yadua. That which is concealed is more than that which is known. Vaidu Marko Kokach, and that which is known is so small, so little. Achu Batabru Bashanam. So it is negated in the vast majority of that which is concealed. This is true in Torah itself. Torah itself, we know very little. That's why Chazal always he Misholim for this. Many Misholim are given also the Tanakh, Rukam Yatzidor Chavim Biniyam, Ketipa Minayam, and also the Agadatos would say that Avrohom Avinu had 400 prakim in his Maseches Abarazon. We only have 5. All these are and the as I would say that how many shivas they had, and there's different limudim which we don't have, of course, today. So the Uktin had 13 yeshivas, I think, in Bavel. In any event, so the most areas of knowledge, they're concealed, and that which is not known to the masses is much greater than that which is known, even to the great scholars. According to Sefer Hagdolah, Batela be'elef, all of our great knowledge is nullified in 1,000. But don't in that which we do not know. Chosas, nevertheless, Abi Shodam Yodek, any little person knows this. Any Cholim Chos Mikerav Nafsho, he can erase from within his soul as a Chukah Kabira, the mighty desire, Ladas es Elokim, to know God. Lasigas HaKoras Mo'uso, and to perceive a cognition of the essence of God. Vat Chesreim Ma'ad Me'elokim. Human beings are created in a way that they're missing just a drop from being divine themselves. V'yodu Heitev, it's well known ki asher chser Elokim hu yel olam. It's known that which God removed from us, or bars from us, it's always going to be missing. Alav ein losif, you can't add to whatever our capacity is. Esamat lo yuchal adam livrolo batzmo, that mat me'elokim which is missing, we can't create our own. So both, since Hashem didn't create within us. Ubechozos, since even though we can't traverse that ultimate last step, our soul thirst for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'kel Chai, to live in God. Masay Avov Yerenu, when will I be able to come and see him? Milan Agodomi Moshe, who was greater to us than Moshe Ben Shor Rabbon Shel Kol Nabim, who was the master of all prophets. Chozos, and even he, nevertheless, Lo Yachol Afnosis Datam Abakashan Nefla, he couldn't reject from his thought, ban from his thought, the wonderful request, Haraining us with show me your honor. The great truth which is revealed to Moshe, the truth which is greater than any other truth which is ever revealed to any other human being, He betshuvas Elokim is in God's answer. Lo suchal liroses panai. You can't see. Tachas Dish lo neda. But right on the greatest moment of prophecy. At the time he had the true closest to God. When he wrote it, when he reached the human level, which is the highest that man can accomplish. Only then do you understand this lofty idea. Lo suchal liros panai. You will not be able to see my countenance. Sharamim, other nations, Shalom Gil Har-Sinai, who did not stand on Har Sinai. Shalklibus Torah Sachayim Api Hashem B'Yam Moshe, did not receive the Torah of life on the basis of Hashem's statements through the hands of Moshe. They went down their ways. Hamon Elilim, the masses to the foreign gods and superstitions. And the greater ones to their scientific inquiries. They toiled to find God. But only to us is the holy name revealed. Because to only us is said, Kedoshim to you, be holy, Prushim to you, be abstain. Because I am holy, says Hashem. Ani Hashem, Kedoshim Hashem. Ki parush umuvdal ani Hashem. Ki lo suchal osis panai. Same thing. You should be holy because I'm holy and you can't see me. We say every morning, every day in the morning. Find praise in God's holy name. Happy is the heart of those who quest HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anybody who quests Hashem, he can't get to true simcha. He can't get to a resolution of all his doubts. Because the popular saying goes, it's not a chazal. It's later in chazal, but it's ein simcha teres hasfekos. There's no happiness like the resolution of doubts. You can't get there though. You're never going to get to the resolution of the riddle of the world. Until you recognize the holy name of the God of Israel, his name, but not his countenance. You can recognize his name, not his countenance. Because his essence is holier than beyond us, separated and set aside, set apart from us. But there's a lot to be happy in, not having resolved all the doubts, not having gotten to the ultimate Riyas Panim. So you should not hold. Don't hold on to this recognition out of weakness, out of an unsteady grip, out of weakness. Don't come out of it to giving up hope and anger that you can't get further. And your incapacity to reach that little bit which is missing from you being your divinity. You should be happy in this cognition. In recognizing the holiness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the separation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The rejoice in it and find praise in it. Find praise in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yismach le mevakshe Hashem. Amazing. We don't know exactly where he's going with this, right? He says, not out of the weakness of the intellect. And not out of a lack of recognition of the significance of inquiry. Do we learn the great Mishnah? Somebody who looks at four things, it's appropriate for him, would have been appropriate for him not to come into this world. Mala, what's above, Malamata, what's below, Malafanim, what was before, what's in front, Malachor, what's in behind. So it says, About Avrohom, amazing inference. It says, "Kol mistakel, v'lo kol halomed." Somebody looks, not somebody learns. It's true that we can't learn them. To recognize them fully, we can't. We have no strength. We only look at these four great questions from a distance. And even that looking, let alone learning, is not going to bring us to actual cognition. To the confusion and more doubts. And as a result of this, they bilbul hergeshim kulam hasim, to confusion of emotions and a ruination of deeds. Only Am Yisrael this great strength, this great energy to cry out without desisting. Al tistaklu b'dvarim halalu. Don't look at these things. Who like us knows? Who knows more than us? The thirst for God. From the earth of the soul for the living God. Who else is as hungry for the word of God? Who else knows and recognizes that only closest to Hashem, proximity to Hashem, is good for it. Nevertheless, only Am Yisrael can restrain these emotions, so not to make this part of the curriculum. All those who did not restrain their drives and emotions should. So we went out and looked at these four things. So from the end they stumbled on the path, and the purity of thought was lost. Whether it was in the Middle Ages, whether in our day and age, they only reached idolatry, not the cognition of the unique and special HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only Judaism remained standing in the light of the eternal, in the shade, in the aura of the eternal light. This is a great praise, litvakkeit. In other words, you won't find the answers in the direct pursuit of the answers. You will only find the answers by focusing on what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you to focus. There are certain things which you can't aim at directly. You can only get indirectly. And this is true about the great questions of the day, the great questions of eternity. They only come to us in a roundabout way. Lo yakru v'lo yidushu al dvar osi. They do not quest or yearn but for the matter of me, capital M, Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yazvun es problema zos asher lepisonali agiu ad olam im yidushu kavam yiches shem pisron. They leave alone this problem, whose solution they will not reach ever, if they deliberately try and reach it as a resolution. Yazvuna, they'll leave it alone, but I'll tell you from the turn to Torah. El Torah HaMusar b'toch HaChaim. To the Torah of Musar, how to lead life in this world. El Torah HaTzedek VaMishpat. To the Torah of justice and of law. Ava of Rachamim, also love and mercy. Only by experientially, through the pursuit of those forms of wisdom, will you be able to reach the great light on the great question. And this light will bring them back to good. Without them pursuing it, automatically, on its own, it will bring them back to the good. A sage of the sages of the world. Evidently, as he says in the paragraph, the French philosopher Renan. He recognized the truth on his own. Many of the questions should be resolved, and they should leave turun by not being resolved. Kavor Elu Shanim, after several years pass, Mufta'im and Avodah, we are astounded by the fact that the question no longer exists. Let's go back to Yismach Leim Bakshi Hashem a minute. There's a famous interpretation for the Rebbe Rabbeinu Parshischa, which I always interpreted along the lines of Viktor Frankl, that Yismach Leim Bakshi Hashem shouldn't say Yismach Leim Bakshi Hashem, say Yismach Leim Motzei Hashem. Those who find God are happy. I mean, those who look for God are happy. When you're happy, when you look for your wallet or when you find your wallet, and then you find a wallet. But he says happiness is not a goal one can pursue. One can't pursue simcha. Happiness is a byproduct. Not much like Viktor Frankl. It's a byproduct. If life is meaningful, so then you have a happiness as a result of having a meaningful life. So that's the saying. Yismach leim mevakshei Hashem. Those whose life is part of the meaningful quest of being mevakshei Hashem, their life is happy. They have happiness in their life. That's a beautiful shot. I love that shot in Yismach leim mevakshei Hashem. Rabbi Avrohom is saying something else. He's saying Yismach leim mevakshei Hashem means ain't simcha as sveikos. Yes, it's true. There's no such simcha as having your sveikos resolved. By the way, I want to look up and tell you who actually said that. So evidently, it's actually on the pasuk in Mishlei Tes Vav Lamed. It says Me'orei Naim Yisamach Leiv Shmua Tova Tedashen Etzem. It's famous. Today is Rosh Chodesh Av, so that's famous from the Haggadah on the Churban, where Rabbi Yochanan Zakir tells Vespasian that his leg expanded because Shmua Tova Tedashen Etzem. So, but the beginning of the statement Me'orei Naim Yisamach Leiv, the illumination of the eye causes joy to the heart. The Mitzudas David says, illumination of the eye in something which is questionable, of doubt, Yisamach Lev will cause the heart to rejoice. So there you have it. It's a Mitzudas David. It's interesting, the Mechlam Ma'amor of Apisromi doesn't even have it. But there it is. That's the Mitzudas David. I found that on dafyomi.com to Zvachin Daf Tzadik Amar Aleph. Anyway, so the so Rabbi Avrohom is saying, yes, ain't simcha l'kataras sveikos, but you'll never the great sveikos of ma'ala madamata malfani malachor, they're not going to resolve by as resolving that directly. They have no direct resolution. There's only the sense of resolution which comes when you're mevakshei Hashem. There's an elusive quest for ultimate answers which you cannot accomplish other than through learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, being Oved Hashem, being Vakish Hashem. I remember there's a famous debate between Rabbi Lord Sachs Zatzal and Avdil, Rabbi Avos Hatuma, what's his name again, Richard Dawkins, and the Rabbi Sachs says that science can only answer what, not why. How, what, but not why. And Dawkins says, why is not a general question? There is no why. There's no answer to why because there is no why. So ultimately, science cannot tell us, Chokhmas HaUmos cannot tell us why. And that's why. Even in Torah itself, we have the famous statement that Reb Chaim Brisker is supposed to say about Reb Shimon. He said, Ich frag was, I ask what, and Reb Shimon fragt farbos, should ask why, and according to certain versions of the story, that he went on to say, I'm not taking a cries on this, und das ist kfira. To ask why, what do you mean why? It's Ratzon Hashem. There's no other why, it's Ratzon Hashem. Right? Everything only is a chok. According to Litvax, even mishpatim are chukim. So, which is a whole different discussion, of course. But in any event, the Rabbi Avrohom is not going that. Rabbi Avrohom is saying there is a why, but the why is the chasrei mat elokim. You can't get at that why directly, only indirectly. It's something which comes as a chush, as a sense of Torah, as a sveikas to people who are completely involved in being mevakshei Hashem. This is the Chokhmas HaUmos, which Chazal distance from us, lo yitiru ela b'torah tefela. They only allowed it as a subordinate study. The quest for which ultimately ends with unanswerable questions. My Chokhmas Yisrael. So what is Chokhmas Yisrael? Hemrak pilpul shel halacha is only pilpul of halacha, only lomdus, which if you're a brisker, maybe you'll say it's only lomdus. And that we find, it's not fairly briskers, I apologize. But this we find a clear answer in Divrei Chazal. Hein yiras Hashem yichachma. Yiras Hashem is what Chokhmah is about. Shekim loshi yivani koin achas hein, because in Greek they call one by the word hein. In Chokhmah al-achas, there's only one true Chokhmah. Reishis Chokhmah yiras Hashem. So a rishis, that's the beginning. The beginning of Chokhmah is yiras Hashem. Vasof, and the end is gamazei shiva Chazal. The first Chazal in Shabbos Lamed Aleph, this one's in Brachos Yuzayin. Tachlis Chokhmah tshuva ma'asim tovim. The ultimate purpose of Chokhmah is tshuva and ma'asim tovim. Ma'abem, so what's the middle? Empty halacha. The middle is halacha. But it has to start with Yiras Hashem and end with the tshuva and ma'asim tovim. Kain haderech movila. That's how the path leads. Mina yira el tshuva ma'asim tovim. Derech halacha v'amitzvos. Through halacha and mitzvos. And if halacha and mitzvos are not grounded in Yiras Hashem, and don't lead the Shua Maisim Tovim, then they're not true Chokhmah. That's important, integral, absolutely essential to understand. Zoy Chokhmas Yisrael. Zo Tzorich Limod. Because you can learn halach like any of this one. You can learn it like Chokhmas HaUmos too. If you learn halacha like Chokhmas HaUmos, that means you're learning it without the Reishis Chokhmah Yiras Hashem, without the Tachlis Chokhmah Tshuva Maisim Tovim. So it's only it's a body of knowledge, which ultimately will not lead to Torah Spekos at all. That's what you have to learn. In order you should learn to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So do we actually learn Yira? And this is a complaint which very many Bali Musar have. And this is really the Pum Musar Musar, between the Bali Musar and the opponents of Musar. In our mistake, we think that Yira is not a question of learning, only a question of will. So Chazal is saying complaint about Amunah, not about Yira. About Yira, I don't know. But about Amunah, he says, people think the Maimon says a statement of fact, I'm a Maimon. Statement of principle. It's not. It's a limud. Kaplan says more it's a midah, but the same idea. You have to learn the midah. You have to learn the midah of yira. As a kotzich limud, everything you have to learn. People think, well, actually, it's a mistake. Everybody think everything you have to learn, but Yiras Shamayim just doesn't want to be Yiras Shamayim. That's all. Let me say, Hashkafas hanatzrus. That he says is Christianity. Hashkafas Shumos and the perspective of the non-Jewish world, the believing non-Jewish world. The non-believing non-Jewish world has even less than that. The believing non-Jewish world believes that you can divorce belief from study, from knowledge. At some philosophic club at Seichel, the philosophy is intellect, by Yira, and Yira is a will. Person wants to Yiras Shamayim. Hurry, Yiras Shamayim. He's automatically Yiras Shamayim. Torah lo kein tachshov. Torah does not think that way. Judaism says ki Yira hi Chokhmah. Yira is Chokhmah. It means it's a discipline, and a major discipline, more significant than any other discipline. You have to learn it. Zohi Chokhmas Yisrael. Ein Chokhmah el achas. So Chokhmas HaUmos is any discipline. Chokhmas Yisrael is only one discipline. Yiras Hashem. Kol darchei Chokhmah zos heru gdoleinu b'sifrei sifreim. And all the darchei Chokhmah. Now, of course, the darchei some comes through halacha and mitzvahs. For us who are yeshiva bachrim, most of it comes through halacha and mitzvahs, but not all of it. And as he says, the greats showed them in the Sfarim, Rabbeinu Bachaye Dayan Sfaradi, the Chokhmas Havavos. Ara Moshe Chaim Lutzat until the Ramchal. For some Aleinu Limod, we have to learn. BPM Aleinu Lichios, from their mouths we have to live. Zoy Chokhmas Yisrael. Near the Fodasis Hashem. V'noved Rochav Halech. We will pursue to know Hashem and will yearn to go in his pathways. Ma'u Das Hashem. What is Das Hashem? Azem Hashiv Loni Yirmiyahu Navi lo philosophia, not philosophy, lo chakir, nor inquiry. Eladon din oni ve'evyon oz tov. To adjudicate the judgment of an impoverished and poor person, and that's good. Hello, hiya das osi, that's knowing me, Num Hashem. Chokhmas Yisrael, we think is learning. It's not. Das is Hashem, is to be dan din evyon v'ani. Din nori v'evyon. The Hashem atzmo maronu ki das also, knowing him, enena chakira, it's not inquiry, ela ma'isa hatov. Good deeds, halicha b'drachav. Following the pathways of Hashem. Ma'u rachum, just like he's kind, avatach rachum, merciful, so you're merciful. Mochana, just like he's gracious, avatachanu, so you're gracious. Harbei tzorich adam la'amod b'yuno, a person has to toil mightily in his intellect, in his intellect, to reach these midos. This toil is called Chokhmah. He Chokhmas Yisrael. Ki zohi Chokhmah. V'chi rak ba'amal iniknes. It's only acquired by toil, v'lo b'ratzon, not by will, not by desire. And the Ramchal proves this. It takes a lot of work. It's interesting that the Bartanura says, amazing concept. The deepest aspects of Torah. Unless, I really should not go back to Briskers, but okay. Unless you're Brisker, of course, in which case, Reb Chaim is the deepest aspect of Torah. And I'm Yeshiva Bacher too. I understand that. I'm not negating that. But, okay, conventionally, we understand Ma'aser Bereishis and Ma'aser Merkava. That's the when Chagiga seems clear that that's the deepest wisdom of Torah. Says the Bartanura, no. This is a shocking Bartanura, astonishing Bartanura. Then I call Chokhmas Bereishis and Chokhmas Merkava. They call Ma'aser Bereishis and Ma'aser Merkava. If not, these are only knowledge of deeds, of activities, of facts. Mada v'lo Chokhmah. Wow. Knowledge, not wisdom. A science. In fact, when my Rambam sees Ma'aser Bereishis is a science. But Ma'aser Merkava is also science. It's not Chokhmah. It's not, perhaps wisdom is not the right translation, because Das often translated as wisdom. I think probably the best translation here for Chokhmah is sagacity. You don't have to be a sage to know Ma'aser Merkava or Ma'aser Bereishis. You have to be a savant. You have to know a lot. But you don't have to be a sage. Big difference. I never even phrase things like this before in my life, but it makes a lot of sense. If you and now I'm learning Zohar. There's a YouTube series, Zohar Peep Shot, also a podcast series, Daily Zohar. And if you look at the Sulam, you look at other Mefarshim, there's a lot of detail. You have to be a savant in order to master that detail. But not necessarily a sage. A sage, says Rabbi Avrohom, that's to know Chokhmas Yisrael. What's sagacity? Yira. Ein Chokhmah lachasi Chokhmas Yira. There is no other Chokhmah, nor the sagacity, nor the greatness and sagacity, except for Yira. Lo hayah Chokhmah zu lo universitos lo professorim. This Chokhmah did not have universities nor professors. It's Tznuim Chokhmah, with the humble. This Chokhmah resided. Tznuim askuba, humble people were involved in this Chokhmah. We see Rabbi Shai Horvitz, Shloah Kodesh, Ramesh Cordovero, the Ramak. See Rabbi Chaim Moshe Chaim Lutzato, the Ramchal. Yom Achronim, and later generations, Misuli Rabbi Chaim Volozhin Talmid Agrozal, Rabbi Chaim Volozhin. See with Gloria Chasidus, one of the greats of Chassidus, Mifnei Dor Echad, and for one generation ago, we see where we saw Solanta. The Gamatay is doing Kelo. Also today, as Snuim Chokhma, there are humble people who have this wisdom. Gamata Oskim Chokhmas Hayira VaMusar. Also today, they're involved in Yira and Musar, Leitiva Masim, to improve their deeds, Lachdor L'Ruach Enosh, to penetrate to the human spirit, Lebaker L'Sov, to critique to the very end, L'Shkov Peles Kol Midontia, to weigh and with a balance every trait and every inclination. Lagia Kedivrei Rabbeinu Yoina, and to reach, as Rabbeinu Yoina says, Lidei Kishutam, this is definition, I guess, of Yira. Kishutam Machshavos, the adornment of thoughts, Utachsis Hamidos, and the tactics of Midos. So, in the end, Avrohom Eliyahu says, Chokhmas HaUmos is any Chokhmah without Yiras Hashem. And any Chokhmas Yisrael is Yiras Hashem. And to the extent that Chokhmas HaUmos can serve for Yiras Hashem, it too is laudable. It's not, of course, as direct as halacha and mitzvahs, but it also has a place in the specific, with the specific parameters you spoke about last week. But the idea is that even Chokhmas Yisrael, it's not simple pilpul halacha, which is an essential prerequisite, perhaps, at least for many people. But the idea is Chokhmah being Yiras Hashem. And that brings then that mimer.